All right, bitch, we are ready to start setting up our template and our glass for our bichard mosaic, and that starts with tracing out the inner edges of our frame. So I'm using a paper plate to prop up my glass because I don't have those nifty little tabs in the back of my frame that helps hold my glass in place. You have those, but if you still want to use the paper plate, you can. You don't need to. And then I'm going to take a Sharpie, and I'm going to, as closely as possible, outline this frame. And I'm trying to be hyper accurate because this is going to mark where the mosaic needs to stop, where the grout needs to stop, so that everything will fit back together when we're done. Make sure that your glass piece is not moving around. Your glass probably is not the exact size as the opening in the back of the frame, so it might have a little wiggle room. Make sure it's not wiggling back and forth as you're tracing, and that the borders that you've drawn are the actual correct borders of the inside of your frame. Now, I'm going to label it back so that I remember that that's the side where the Sharpie's on, so that I don't accidentally leave that facing up and glue on top of it and then glue a bunch of Sharpie into my piece forever and ever. You want the Sharpie on the back side. You want to be looking at it. Back should be backwards. And if all of that is in check and bichard is lined up right, it's time to start taping this motherfucker down. You want to tear your strips of tape so that they run the entire edge, and you want to make sure that you're lining up the edge of your tape as closely as possible with the edge of the Sharpie. If you cover up the Sharpie, then your mosaic is going to be just slightly smaller than the frame, and you're going to have a small gap of light around all of the edges. And if your tape is too far from the edge of the Sharpie, then your mosaic will be actually a little bit too big, and it probably won't fit back through your frame. So try and line this up as precisely as possible. And do it on all the sides. I start on one edge and then work around in like clockwise or counterclockwise, and that will help you down the road. So what we are taping, this tape, what is it actually for, is a rip line for our grout. So what we're doing is we're taping off the edges, then later, once all of our glass pieces are glued down, we will grout it, and then we will tear these pieces of tape up. It will rip and give you a beautiful, clean grout edge, and you will feel all of the satisfying feels. So once all of our edges are taped down, I'm going to peel this bad boy up and flip it over, and we are going to just kind of fold all of the tape back onto itself, kind of rip off some of the excess. And again, since we are going to be using this later as kind of a pull cord for our grout line, I want to make that step as easy as possible. And to do that, I want to make sure that my tape is only being folded back onto itself or back onto the paper. I do not want to fold and tape down onto the back of the glass. That will make it really hard to tear off later, and you will be sad. So I'm also kind of tearing off some of the extra tape that's in the corners. I have just a little bit too much here. When it's thick, it can be a little hard to tear. And again, I'm just trying to make my life easier down the road. It's fantastic. Once that's done, you done, baby. He ready to go. Give him a good little cleaneroo and clip your pieces. Get into it.